Paul said to Timothy, look, Timothy, the purpose of this commandment, and they are not those of Moses, because Paul said that Christ put an end to the law. Now the purpose of the commandment that produces the gospel that I preach, that of uncircumcision, is love from a pure heart. Who truly possesses a pure heart? Even the prophet acknowledges that all hearts are tainted. But when Christ died, He sanctified your heart and cleansed it. It says, is love from a pure heart. And of what? That is today's theme, sanctified consciences. And from a good conscience, and from what faith? Unfeigned faith. You know that religious people who don't know the true gospel have feigned faith, because they tell you Christ loves you and so do I. And when you join their churches, if you make a mistake, they kick you out. That's feigned faith. But then you didn't say you loved me. No, I love you as long as you behave as I believe. They take you out. They even take away your membership. Or if you get divorced, you are excommunicated from the church and can no longer participate in anything because of a divorce. See, sometimes that's a blessing for both of us. Sometimes, not every time. But religious people are like that. They have feigned faith. In ministry, growing in grace, it is not because we deserve it or because we are super good. It is because we have understood the gospel of the uncircumcision given to Paul, the gospel of grace, and it makes us love truly. And you can love here even if you have made a mistake. I still love you. I still love you, and that's it. That's right. Well, verse 19 also says, from first letter Timothy, verse 19, this is the subject, and we are going to talk about the verses that talk about conscience. To maintain simplicity, we stick to one consistent theme throughout. It says, having faith, and a good what? Which some, having rejected concerning the faith, have suffered shipwreck, of whom are Hymenaeus and Alexander, whom I delivered to Satan, that they may learn not to blaspheme. Notice what Paul says here. He says, look, these two blessed ones who were with us were shipwrecked in the faith. Why? Because they fell into an evil conscience. And then once you fall into an evil conscience, you cannot practice faith. Because when you want to practice faith, your bad conscience tells you, be careful. You failed, God does not forgive you. Then you want to believe, but you can't because you fell into a bad conscience. So you don't find forgiveness. And Paul says, I delivered them to Satan. What does this mean? To surrender to Satan is to surrender to the will of your flesh. The only Satan that exists here is your flesh. This flesh is genus devil. It is genus Satan. Satan was destroyed on the cross of Calvary. He does not exist. That is yesterday's newspaper. That happened, but it left your body damaged. The lust that is in your flesh. And if you lose this gospel and you lose the faith, what do you give yourself to? To the fallen will of your carnal mind. And that is like being in the hands of the devil. Why does religion believe in the devil? Because they are not in faith. They apostatized from the faith. That is why Paul says that they would apostatize from the faith and the Lord would not come. Without what coming? Apostasy. That is why I am here, because apostasy is already reigning. And why do they believe in the devil? Because they are not in faith or in good conscience. And so they are given over to Satan, who is currently under the influence of Satan. All religious individuals unknowingly are. They are given over to him without realization, but it's the will of the flesh. Do you know why you are yielded to the Lord? Because you have the mind of the Lord directing you.